guys, welcome to the Music Roundtable with our hosts Lyle,
hello,
Clint,
hello,
Kim, hi, and I'm Vicky, where we discuss our opinions and experiences of the music we love, or maybe not. Yes, we kind of thought in light of the recent passing of Beach Boys member Brian Wilson, who passed away a couple days ago, as we record on June 13th. We thought we would pivot a little bit and talk about the Beach Boys and Brian and everything that they've done for the music industry.
Yeah, they've been on our list. We wanted to do them. It just kind of pushed it forward, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I know there was lots of talk from other artists about how much he meant to them and how much the Beach Boys meant to. I think Elton John said something. And
yeah.
I was surprised at the statement by Sir Paul McCartney, because there was always those rumors that the Beatles and the Beach Boys hated each other, but they were actually really close.
They were, and they played off of each other.
Yeah, I don't think they hated each other. I think it was a mutual admiration for each other.
Like I said, rumors that they hated each other.
It was kind of like them and the Rolling Stones. The Beatles and the Rolling Stones were the good
because it was in that documentary we watched. It talked about
it was actually in both documentaries, and pretty much what it was is so Beach Boys came up with Pet Sounds, and that was
it did really well.
It did well, but it was a departure from sounds for people, and the Beatles saw that. And that's what inspired the Beatles to do the Sgt. Pepper album, and it they played off of each other.
Yeah, like that was really good. We liked that. Now we're going to do this. We're going to one up you.
And at the time, you're talking like the biggest band in the UK and the biggest band in America, and they were just. I don't like there was
creative competition they called it.
There was a rivalry, but it was just like, oh my God, they did that. We got to try something like that.
Yeah, that was really good. Let's do this.
It was a lot of studio work. So that's where they all started experimenting with, what sounds can we make things do, bringing in other instruments and stuff. And I didn't think we were going to lead off into that part, but it did.
Well, it just kind of happened.
Yeah. No, just to kind of like, I don't know, continue or finish off or whatever. It's just, I was just reading, Paul McCartney has repeatedly stated that he believes that the Beach Boys' God Only Knows is the greatest song ever written.
It is a really good song.
It is a really good song, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's really any songs I don't like of theirs.
Yeah. See, I know there's songs, but it's one of those artists that you hear it and I'm like, oh.
You definitely know a Beach Boys
then you hear
tune.
it was done by like, the sound.
The sound,
yeah.
But they were also, they wrote hooks. They had that sound, and it caught you. And, like you say, you can hear it, not even quite realize what but you instantly get into it. And that's what, that's what the record executives like. They wrote hooks, and like this song is marketable.
Well, just their name, right? The whole thing was marketable. Because what was their original name? It was something weird. It was to do with the type of shirts that they wore as surfers. The Pendletons later changed their name to the Beach Boys.
Thank goodness.
Their name paid homage to the surf uniform of the 60s, a Pendleton board shirt over a T-shirt with khakis. So, yeah.
Yeah, because Dennis Wilson was the big surfer in the family.
Yeah, he was the only one.
The influence.
Yeah, only surfer. So he was like, you guys need to do surfer songs about surfing. Or songs that you could, I guess, listen to while you're at the beach, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how that all started. I mean, they started as a garage band, right?
They did.
So, yeah.
Well, all bands start. Well, most bands. Sorry, most bands start as a garage band somewhere. And
they do, but it was nice because it was brothers and a cousin, and then they brought in a friend and kind of moved on from there, right? And there was one guy that I don't think he made the cut, but he's listed still as a member.
Yeah. And
he was like the 11-year-old when they were doing stuff, and he was a guitar player. He missed the boat because he was at school one day. So
Heaven forbid.
Heaven forbid you were at school and couldn't play on the album or something. Maybe it wasn't the album. Play for the executives, and then they got signed, and they didn't know that their name was going to be changed until it came out. Because the executives, I think, decided to change the name because they're like, that doesn't work. There's somebody already called something. what was it? Oh, because they were talking about Surf Up or something, some kind of name about surfing. And they're like, no, you can't do that because there already is one. So the Beach Boys were born. There's a lot of information to weed through.
Yeah.
That's usually what happens, though, is like, one, as a kid and all this, we'll call ourselves this. And then, executives going, really? That's your name?
Yeah.
We're going to change that. We're going to do some little marketing changes here. And, I think that's one thing with it. And, like, I'm not critical of their music or stuff like this, but it is... it's very cookie cutter-ish.
You think?
It's very formulatic.
Oh, formalized, yeah. Like
Okay, yeah.
They know what works for the sound that they want to achieve, so they kind of use that, regurgitate.
Well,
that.
I think once they found that sound, the California sound, if you want to call it that,
That's exactly what they called it. Yeah, I was just reading.
during the British invasion, they still were successful.
Yes.
Like they were competing with the Beatles then that whole started with like the Mamas and Papas after that. And like it just, they were the start of that whole California sound, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be right.
Yeah. Just the right place, right time, catchy tunes.
Yeah, that's always the way it works. Is right time, right place, right time, and stuff. And
the songs are timeless. Like you hear the songs today, and it's like, yep,
Still make you feel good.
yeah.
Oh, totally. You want
Yeah.
to get happy? You listen to the Beach Boys.
Exactly.
Well, that's the
yeah.
songs
Makes
that they
you feel
wrote,
good.
right?
Yeah.
I just probably how I know a lot of these songs is my dad in the garage, senile 650 on, and the Beach Boys. Come on,
Yep.
yeah,
and that's why I'm like to this day. I'm like I probably know more songs than I actually realize.
We always listened to the Beach Boys when we were sitting on our deck and going swimming in our pool. Like that, the Beach Boys were always on.
Yeah.
And like I said, I kind of have my tape here, and you can tell it's pretty
It's pretty
used because I would listen to it constantly, even without anybody else.
Why was
I
he's
had-
kicking in? She didn't play it to the end. It's in the middle of the
Who knows when that was? I don't even know. That doesn't
say, I
have on
had-
the CD.
The
No, I know,
only
but now
album
I'm
I
now gonna
have
check to
is
see if the
Endless
CDs are
Summer, which I
live.
have on CD now, but
Yeah.
I had it on LP forever and ever.
Just wear that thing out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Endless Summer. That's the album I knew. My dad had that one. That's
Yeah.
the actual LP.
Yeah.
And that one was an interesting one because that was from what the documentary is. Like their career actually started to dwindle
Wane, yeah.
at that point, and Endless Summer is just a compilation album.
Yeah,
They're
it's
just
like a greatest hits album.
Yeah.
They threw
Yeah.
it out there, and all of a sudden there was a whole new generation that all of a
Yeah.
sudden
And we're like, who is this?
Yeah,
We need to listen to
jumped
that.
on.
That,
to it.
that was released in 74, I believe,
74.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the music that I grew up listening to was
Yeah.
that album. And
So there is a lot of people like they hear Endless Summer and they figure, oh, this new band, this is great. They've been out over a decade before, 12, 13 years before
Yeah.
that.
well, and that's what I was reading when I was reading up on Brian Wilson as well. Is like he actually stopped touring with the band a full 8 years before we were even born.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because he had so many that he just couldn't do. That
Personal
it was,
issues
it didn't work for him.
The toil
And,
of touring. And,
alcohol and the,
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was. I just want to be at home writing. That's it. I'll write
Well-
the songs, but I don't want to perform.
You
Yeah.
also have to realize this is going back and like, I guess after our Ticketmaster one is at that time, it was all about making albums, doing the sounds,
Yeah.
making albums.
Yeah.
Your tour was literally just a promotion of
the album.
The album sales.
Yeah.
It's a little different nowadays. Nowadays, the albums are the promotion for seeing the artist. But at that time, tours and that were just promotion for the album. So as long as, somebody was touring and you were able to sell albums,
Yeah.
like you could have the main band in studio, writing and recording it. You could have someone else go and kind of play it or whatever to promote it, just as long as the sounds were getting out there.
different time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Totally.
I don't have any of their albums, so
Oh no.
this is
It really was just the radio. Yeah.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
it. I liked them, but it's just something that I never bought.
bothered. Yeah.
I
See,
don't even
and
know
then
if my
me,
dad.
it's like the Beach Boys is part of my identity. as a California girl,
Yes.
they are part of my identity.
Like maybe my dad has one. I'm not sure,
Could
but
have,
I've
yeah.
I don't remember ever seeing in there. But
So as the rest of us are holding on to our Bryan Adams and our Nickelback and all,
Right?
you're the California girl.
Beach
This is me.
Boys all
This
the
is-
way, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm not
Definitely.
a California girl, but they're mine too.
Yeah.
They're like a huge part of my life.
Like if you've seen the album cover to Endless Summer or whatever, it's a really catchy album cover, and I remember that in my dad's record collection, and there
Yeah.
was lots of records and all this, but that one always stood out. And like I said, I remember listening to that.
It
growing up.
has that summertime feel. Like it's a feel good album.
It's like, it's going to be warm out. You're going to be in your
Yeah.
shorts and you're going to be hanging out with your friends and you're going to be going swimming.
Yeah, exactly.
Not surfing necessarily because we
No.
don't do that here.
I was never a surfer, but
we
definitely
could do
swimming.
that in Tofino.
In Tofino, yeah, you
Yeah.
can go surfing, but I'm
I
good. I'm good with
remember-
just listening to the music.
Yeah, I remember one summer, like Sun God used to have like theme days or whatever for their public swims.
Yeah.
and they did a Beach Boys one weekend, and I think I
amazing.
spent like the whole weekend at that pool.
Yeah. I would
So
do.
they had the music playing and everything. It was very
I'm
cool.
just deranged. Let's go to the swimming pool and watch Jaws.
Beach Boys or Jaws. Yeah.
But yeah, so many movies. Like I think whenever I hear "I Get Around," I instantly think of Flight of the Navigator
Yeah.
when he's in the spaceship and they're just starting to learn to fly
Yeah.
or whatever, and
Yeah,
other
they're in a
things
lot
too,
of
like
movies.
a lot of movies.
Yeah.
Well, there's your favorite
What's that, Cocktail?
cocktail.
Oh,
Yeah.
Kokomo? Yeah,
Kokomo.
well, Kokomo, that does automatically makes me think of Cocktail, yes.
Yeah.
But I think wasn't it written for it? Probably.
Yes.
I think it
Yeah,
was.
it was.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was.
But then that was also a deviation a bit from it because it, like we were talking about before we came on here, it does sound like the Beach Boys, but it kind of also, it's a little bit of a
You can tell it's
deviation.
different.
It's different.
Yeah, but
So
it's still Beach Boys too.
it is, yeah. Because Brian Wilson had nothing to do with that song.
it fits
Yeah.
the '80s mold.
It
that
does
was
fit
in
the 80s mold, yeah.
Yeah.
of songwriting. Yeah.
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 Which a lot of things though, you got to adapt or die.
Which they had to adapt a lot, didn't they? Because they lost a lot of members over the years. The one was the brother. They lost Dennis.
Dennis. Yeah, he
and, like,
drowned.
Yeah.
Apparently,
yeah, he drowned.
the surfer drowned.
surfer drowned.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's-
Irony there? I don't know.
there was a lot going on. A lot of nefarious things going on when that happened. And then just other band members went on and did other things. There's the one guy that kept on coming back and leaving. I don't remember his name right now.
I don't remember either.
But he wasn't an original anyways. But now it's, it's gotten to the point where it's just Mike Love. But yeah, they had tragedies and they had a lot of volatility, I would say. Still, yeah,
But
it's
I
I think it's part of it.
But I think that was one of the things is like Brian Wilson, obviously, he wrote a lot of the songs
He did.
and stuff.
He wrote pretty
And-
much all of their songs.
But he could sit in the studio and he would come up with these sounds and songs and hooks and stuff. And it was great. And then he had the backing of the band
Yep.
to kind of take it on tour. So that allowed him to kind of keep his creative juices
Yeah.
in-house.
Yeah.
You can still put out an album. It's still a Beach Boys album. It's just obviously when it tours,
I'm not going to be there.
he's not going to be there.
Yeah, because I can't remember which member was that took. That's why there was that extra member because he would do the touring.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which that's great. You're having your cake and eating it too, right? You're like, I'm still getting all the kudos. The fanfare is still there. People still love to hear our music. I just don't have to deal with all the people.
Which
and
is
be on
kind
the
of cool because that
stage.
kind of also comes on like what we were talking in previous episodes where like, is it really still the band? And in this case, like the band toured without that particular member and brought
Yeah.
in other members and stuff like this. And
But-
it is still the band. Like it's almost the band endorsed by the band.
Yes.
Yeah, but like
Yeah.
you're saying, they didn't do tours like they do tours now, right? So it was a little different. I would say the band was still the band because he was still on the recordings.
Yes.
He would do the studio recordings. He would do the writing. He just didn't do the tour.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's still the band.
Okay, so this all brings up, and we're not going to talk
boy.
about it here on this, but this definitely brings in the conversation that we will have to do in the future. Milli Vanilli.
Oh yeah, we do have to do that.
Yes.
Well, that's
we'll
going
have
to be
touch
a
on that.
good one. What was the other thing? Just trying to see. The Charles Manson connection.
I don't know that one.
Oh, so Charles Manson was friends with Dennis. And he wanted to be a musician, Charles Manson, and he liked to write songs, poetry, what have you. So he wrote one song with Dennis and or whatever happened to help with it. And Dennis, like once all that stuff went down, they didn't want to talk about this at all because they recorded this song. Where is it? I'll find it. Charles Manson and the Beach Boys. The leader of the cult was responsible for, we know what he was responsible for. He was in connection with Dennis Wilson and a song called Cease to Exist. While not a long-lasting connection, the Beach Boys' involvement with Manson and his song is a notable part of their history. So he reportedly wrote a song called Cease to Exist and believed it would bring peace to the Beach Boys, who were reportedly fighting amongst themselves at the time. What else is new? Dennis Wilson became friendly with him and his family. So they eventually persuaded the band to record the song, but the recording was altered and Manson was not credited as a songwriter, as he claimed according to Squeaky Fromm. The song was recorded as Never Learn Not to Love on their album Holland. Mike Love, another Beach Boy, claimed he wasn't aware at the time that Manson had written the song and assumed it was written by Dennis. So, and then Dennis wouldn't speak of it because obviously all the bad things. So they actually lost a lot of their following when it hit that they knew him and that he was involved with their group. Oh. So that was one of their down hits. Yeah. Yeah. I remember that. I remember hearing about that a long time ago. So I was like, oh, I got to look up
listen up, children, and learn something new.
Yeah.
There's several songs at that time about Marilyn Manson or not Marilyn Manson, sorry.
That's another song.
That's another song.
Singer.
Charles Manson. So it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, because, I mean, we'll have to listen to it after because I kind of want to hear it. I've read that he was very good at poetry and songwriting. So
because Guns N' Roses actually recorded one of his songs, and there was a big controversy around that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so
that I wasn't aware of.
Yeah, totally interesting, right? What else is it? Legacy, no. Alice Cooper had a story about Brian Wilson.
Alice Cooper has lots of stories.
He's
amazing.
But this was, I read it and I was like, I don't know if I want to share it because it was a little weird. Because it does kind of go into him having a mental illness, right? Mm-hmm. But he was, so Alice told, this is about John Lennon and Brian Wilson. I was sitting backstage after the 1974 Grammys with Bernie Taupin, Elton John's lyricist, and John Lennon. This was when Brian was really having some mental issues. During the course of the conversation, I kept seeing Brian out of the corner of my eye, just kind of staring at us from different angles. He finally came up to the table, bent down, and whispered in my ear, "Hey, Alice, introduce me to John Lennon." I couldn't believe that these two men had never met. They were virtually neck and neck in the 60s as the greatest bands on the planet, and I'm sure they must have crossed paths at some point. But then I thought to myself, wow, I'm going to be one to introduce them and become a part of rock history. So I merely said, "Brian Wilson, this is John Lennon. John Lennon, this is Brian Wilson." Lennon was very cordial and polite, saying things like, "Hello, Brian. I've always wanted to meet you. I've always admired your work. And Paul and I consider Pet Sounds one of the best albums ever made." Brian thanked him and walked away, at which point Lennon went right back to his conversation like nothing had happened. About 10 minutes later, Brian came by our table again, leaned down and whispered something to Bernie, and all of a sudden Bernie was saying, "Brian Wilson, this is John Lennon, Brian Wilson." Lennon was just as cordial and polite as the first time, saying essentially the same thing about always wanting to meet him. As soon as Brian walked away, John looked at both of us and casually said in his typical Liverpoolian accent, "I've met him hundreds of times. He's not well, you know." We were impressed by John's empathy and kindness in dealing with Brian and thankful that Brian had found some mental stability following tumultuous times. So, like it's good and it's also sad, right?
Yeah.
But I thought that was an interesting little
story.
story.
Such a talented artist that
cracked under the pressure, or just
the decline, or
he had a lot of mental issues, right?
Well, with I don't know, they were saying alcohol, drugs, mental issues, like.
Well, I think he had like huge anxiety.
Yeah.
Like he was a recluse for how many years? There was so many years he didn't leave his house.
Yeah.
He just stayed inside and wrote and laid in bed. And so I think there was time he just laid in bed. He didn't even do anything.
Well, yeah, it's like the Bare Naked Lady song,
Yes.
Brian Wilson. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's a good song.
It is a good song.
It explains all of it
Right?
there. Yeah.
Well, it's when the depression hits. Unfortunately, when depression hits you, there's
Yeah.
a lot of people. Oh, just get up and do it. It's not that easy.
Yeah,
it's
easier
not that
said than
easy.
done for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like I know he hasn't been well
No.
for a long time. So
Not since the mid 60s, really.
No.
yeah.
Sad reality is they're all getting older, and that's why they're dying off. But
It is. And considering I know it's the Beach Boys and all this, but they live a hard life as well, being in the
Yeah.
music business, especially at that time.
Yeah.
So for artists to live as this long, it's
no,
it's
It's surprising with all of his health issues that he lived to that age.
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
It's just kind of, poor Brian, multimillionaire mansion. Like, I do agree. Like, living with the mental illness and stuff like this, that is difficult and hard and stuff. But sometimes it's hard for me to have sympathy for some of these people because, you had that, hard life with those millions of dollars. And
But like you say,
Many
once you get into that
different-
mental illness, and
Yeah.
it's downhill,
It's downhill. Yeah.
and it's hard to
To pull yourself out.
yeah.
well, it takes you to a dark place, and it is very hard to come back out of
And I
it.
think there's some dark music that came out of that, but I can't
But
think
that's
of
awesome.
any of them.
But I like the
But-
dark music. It's sad to say, but it's like some of the best music in the world comes from the pain, the torture,
yeah.
the emotion. If anything, it comes from the emotion, and it plays through in the music. So, as horrible as it is for him, the person, and I do sympathize with that, it also probably produced some of the greatest music in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why he's one of the most respected songwriters
Yeah. Everybody
from that
was-
era of all the way through, right?
Oh yeah. That's why there's so many people who were thanking him for what he did.
Yeah.
Right. So it was kind of sad. I was like, that's the day the music died, right?
Another one, yeah.
like it's cool because like he enjoyed going in the studio and experimenting and coming
Yeah.
up with new sounds and stuff
You
like
mean
this.
like good vibrations? That leads right into that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, because it was known for its complex production and unconventional approach to pop music, making it the most expensive single ever recorded at the time. Estimates for production costs range from $50,000 to $75,000, which is today's money would be considerably more. And that was his what did I kind of call it earlier? That was his Phantom Opera of the opera. That song was
Odyssey.
where he wanted to do all these different things and experiment so much, and so that was like his favorite.
And that goes back to, like I said, that's where with the Beatles is like they heard Pet Sounds and like, look what they're doing here. We got to do something like this. And from that, Beatles birth Sgt. Pepper's album, which obviously same thing. It was
It was back and forth.
it was a different from the standard or
Yeah.
whatever. They were willing to experiment, and that made great music or interesting music.
Music, yeah.
Very well.
I'd say great.
Great. Yes, I would agree.
I like that album.
Yeah.
Well, between the 60s to the 2020s, they had 37 songs that reached the U.S. top 40 of Billboard Hot 100,
Yeah.
the most by an American band.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Well
that's-
deserved.
And, of course, going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1988. So
Yeah. Yeah.
one of the first, I think. I'm going to look that up.
Could be, yeah. I like
As
how
we're
they
spewing facts, we really don't know
not
yet.
100%.
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah, exactly.
I just like how they were kind of had their hands in everything, and then eventually they came back again, and part of that was with just lost his name. Uncle Jesse. What is his name?
John
John
Stamos.
Thank you, John Stamos. I lost his name. Anyways, once that all kind of, because obviously he has mad respect for the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
And it's one of his favorites too,
Yeah.
right? So the fact that he got to play with them, he's always so excited whenever you see him talk about it, and whenever you see him playing with them, right? So the fact that they were on Full House, I can remember that.
Yeah, I remember that too.
All those things were very interesting at that time because it wasn't done. So that's kind of another interesting aspect of the Beach Boys that I really
And it
liked.
helps them live on because it introduces
Yeah.
them again to another
New
generation,
generation.
right? Yeah.
And well, that's one of the things is like obviously, we know there is the infighting or whatever you could, like the internal conflict within the band.
Yeah.
But you guys coming in at, your ages as kids, you don't know or care about that. It's
Exactly.
just, this is really cool music.
Yeah.
I like this. Like the music speaks volumes.
Yeah.
Like the music carries on.
Exactly.
And like obviously he's gone now, but his music will live forever.
Forever. Yeah.
Yeah. There's probably like lots of songs we've never heard. Lots of things he wrote that he never did anything with.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh yeah,
I'm-
that's what I was reading. Like, there's a lot of stuff that there's the quote bedroom tapes supposedly
bedroom tapes,
of all
yes.
this stuff that he did that when he never came out of his bedroom that haven't been
Yeah.
heard publicly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Crazy.
so
But
Genius,
on the
right?
same token, if someone has the estate, some of that stuff's going to come out. Or
Oh,
whatever.
100%. Yeah.
maybe eventually.
Yeah.
So the first artist to be inducted in the Hall of Fame was 1986. So they were 2 years after. So they were
Wow.
one of the first. Yep.
One of the
Nice.
first.
I do want to know though who was the first
was
artist
the
inducted.
Who was the first artist?
Do we even know who it is? It's whoever paid the first money to the thing.
I'm
Right?
sorry, you've opened the door. I need to know.
One of the first artists were Chuck Berry, James Brown, Ray Charles, Sam Cooke, Fats Domino, the Everly Brothers, Buddy
makes
Holly,
sense.
Jerry Lee Lewis, Little
Does make
Richard,
sense.
and Elvis Presley.
And a lot of those artists were actually influences of the Beach Boys.
Yep. Yep.
The Beach Boys were inducted at the same time as the Beatles.
That's
Oh, that's
so
irony.
fitting.
awesome.
That's
irony.
awesome.
Yeah.
Very fitting.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Well, it's funny because I think one of their requirements is you have to have. You pretty much have to be like 20 or 25 years from
25
from inception
I believe,
or whatever.
yeah.
So yeah, it all kind of lines up.
Lines
Yeah,
up.
those
Perfect.
ones, yeah, because they were the founding, I guess, fathers or of rock and roll, and yeah, that's what started
Surf music.
Well, started everything.
Yeah.
With, like
Yeah.
Chuck Berry, and yeah. So, what were your favorite songs by the Beach Boys?
All of them.
Right.
I mean,
Well,
I think Little Deuce Coupe is really fun.
It is really
That's a very
fun.
fun song.
I have to say California Girls
Of
has
course
always
you
been
do.
one of
I
my
was going to
favorites.
say that's got to be your favorite.
But yeah, Surf and Safari,
Yeah.
Surfer Girl,
Surfing USA.
I Get Around, yeah, Surfing USA.
That's what I'm saying. It's all of them.
It's
Fun, fun,
I can't.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah. Help Me Rhonda. Even Help Me Rhonda is like so much fun. They're like a barbershop quartet
yeah.
on the beach.
Yeah.
Like, who doesn't like barbershop? And yeah, people are going to come at me for that one, I'm sure. But who doesn't like barbershop quartets?
but
The same
no,
people
but
who don't like Brian or Michael Bublé.
right? Yeah. Right.
no, but that's like
Different style.
obviously
But I wouldn't doubt if
there's
Beach
more
Boys
members
were
than
his
just four.
biggest influence.
But
Yeah.
I think what was nice about it, and that's also playing off the Beatles, is it was all band members singing and harmonizing together.
Yes.
They
It was
didn't
their
need the
harmonies
instruments
that.
necessarily, right? It was
Yeah.
their singing was their
Like,
instrument.
there was a lot of bands, especially in that time. It was this is the singer, this is the guitarist, this is the drummer, this is the bassist.
Yeah.
Didn't they
so it-
fire their dad? Hold
So it wasn't very
I
often
think they
that
did, yeah.
that you would have a band that comes out and they could all sing and they could all harmonize together.
Yeah.
Which obviously added layers to the music, because then you could literally almost operatic, as you could have someone be in the baritone and someone coming up with the high like kind of treble voice and
Yeah.
stuff like this. So it's
Well,
and it just-
that's definitely part of their sound is that higher
Yes.
vocals, and like they said, their harmonies were
Like, I can't
amazing.
even sing some of those high
No, I know.
parts. I'm just like, can you go back down to that solid? Because I'm like, I can't do
Yeah,
that
can't
high
do
note.
it.
But a lot of bands at that time period were like that. Like the Beatles were obviously Beach
Yeah.
Boys,
They
Mamas
were,
and the
but they weren't.
Papas.
They were, but they weren't. Like
Yeah.
that was actually kind of new,
Yeah.
a new
They
thing
were-
coming out.
Yeah,
when
exactly.
they did that.
Yeah.
Like it's
Like
obviously
there was only usually what, 2? Like you'd have the lead singer or whatever.
well,
right?
really, a lot of them was like one. If you're going right back, first of all, a lot of artists back then didn't write their songs. There was
Yes.
there was a songwriter, and they literally, this is the drummer, this is the guitarist, this is the person on vocals. Now go ahead. Then all of a sudden you got these guys who came out and wrote their own songs, and then they could all sing and they could harmonize. So all of a sudden you got this multi-layer system of these sounds. and that's where, like I said, now you're taking your mamas and papas and stuff, like all them kind of joined in on it. Like we could add more people and get this wider sound.
Yeah.
And obviously, once again, it changed music. So like people, take it for granted now, but it wasn't something that was in play unless you were actually seeing like a full opera or something like that.
Yeah. So they started.
Yeah. They were the drive that moved a lot of this forward. You were talking about the thing. Why don't you go with the list that you got
so,
out?
Oh, yeah.
So this is from Vintage Rock magazine.com back in March 14th of 2022. They put their top 10 Beach Boys songs.
Okay, let's see if we agree with this.
Yes.
Okay, number 10. I'm going to count down. So I Know There's an Answer. I don't know that one. Caroline, No, was number 9. Number 8, In My Room.
That's a good one.
Really
Number 7, Don't Worry, Baby.
Oh, I like that one too.
Number 6, I would have put this higher, but Wouldn't It Be Nice?
Yeah.
Because that's my favorite.
Oh, that's your favorite?
Yeah, I like
Well, 6
that one.
isn't a bad spot for that one, though.
No, 6 isn't bad.
5, I Get Around.
Yeah, it's
See,
fine.
I'd put that one higher.
Yeah.
Number 4, Surf's Up.
Yeah, see, I'd switch places with that. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Number 3, California Girls. Number 2,
decent.
God Only Knows. And number 1, Good Vibrations.
Okay, that's fair. Good Vibrations.
Yeah,
should be
all
number
right.
1. Yeah.
No, remembering this is also subjective. This would be.
This is just from them, so that's why.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
from that site. That's their opinion.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone's going to have different opinions, different favorite songs. I'm not one that's usually more into the deep cuts or what most people don't hear. Because the fact,
Like my personal, like Barbara Ann.
Oh, love Barbara Ann.
Rhonda isn't on that list.
I was listening to that on the way here, and I was like, that. Unless you've got like, it can be difficult to sing that one because of the way
You get
Barbara
tongue-tied.
Ann,
Yeah.
like you have to like really.
You try to sing all the parts and you just like screw
Okay, you
yourself
can't.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I've tried. It doesn't
Yeah,
work. You
it doesn't
tongue tie
work.
yourself. But it's so good.
Yeah.
Like I said, I can't. I think I like all their songs. I don't think there is one that I don't like. There's probably ones that on this list where you're saying, I could see them being like lower at my In My Room was good, but is it like a 10? No. Is it a 7? So it would just be kind of like
It's all perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one am I going to listen to the most? There's probably like.
But that's every band too. You're going to have that, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. That's why there's greatest hits albums, because those are really good.
That's actually what I'm looking here, and like you had it playing earlier or whatever. It's not necessarily the greatest song
I
ever,
didn't
but
have this played. Though.
no, but you had these guys playing or
Yeah.
whatever, and there was Sloop John B was playing on the
Mm-hmm.
TV or whatever, and most people probably wouldn't even know or recognize the song. But
No,
I'm
not
like,
from the name. No.
No.
Yeah.
like I'm saying now, like I don't know some of these songs, but I bet you if I put
If
them
you
on,
hear them.
I'd hear
Yeah.
them. I'd be like, okay.
Yeah. Well, that's what I
Yeah,
was
because
saying.
I've
too.
always been terrible with that. Is like knowing the name of a song.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, forget it.
That is another episode at some point in time. We're coming to, 'cause that one was on you. 'Cause
Coming to a podcast near you. We're going to play Guess That too.
So, yeah.
Because we play that all the time in the car and at home. And we do that to the daughter. So with
yeah,
Scarlett.
poor child.
I don't remember
But unless
how we
you
got on
really
that.
listen to the artist, you
You
don't-
would know. Well,
you
because
would know.
Probably don't know.
I think we were talking about the Beach Boys because we had just watched the thing, and Scarlett was like, "Who's the Beach? Like, what songs?" And I was like, so I was like, "You know who the Beach Boys are? You probably just don't know the names of the songs." And we play
Yeah.
them, and she starts singing along. She's like, "Oh, I do know that. Okay, and I know that, and I know that."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you just don't necessarily know who it was because that's how many years before her time, right?
Wow, how many years before our time?
I was going to say, it was already years before our time.
Yes, it was.
Like
Yeah.
I said, that one album came out actually before we were born. It was
Yeah.
the same year, but it was
Yeah.
before any of us were born. That album came out,
Yeah.
and that gave them a resurgence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
At
yeah.
that time.
Yeah. They needed it. They needed that jump
They did.
back up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because we were listening to the Pet Sounds album. Because I was like, you usually listen to the greatest hits. So I was like, I want to listen to the Pet Sounds album from beginning to end, and it was good. I've never listened to like the singular albums like that. So for them, but you pretty much have all the songs already. You know them. You just didn't listen to them.
Just
on that
didn't
album.
realize that you knew them.
Yeah.
But then that's where the deep cuts are. Those like those songs
Yeah.
that don't get that 100% airplay and stuff.
That's true.
So find an artist, find an old album, listen to it.
Yep.
Exactly.
Didn't we talk about that before?
We've talked about it many times.
I'll say that all the time.
Yeah,
I'll
listen
be
to
like
the
a
whole
broken
album,
record.
not just pick and choose your
Exactly.
songs.
So
Yeah.
would you go see, because it's really only Mike Love now and like one other person, would you still go see the Beach Boys? Because we've talked about this obviously now before. I think I would.
I think I would, because I
I
would
would.
just sit back
and because it's
and just enjoy the music.
yeah.
Because this one is definitely bringing you the music, and like I said, it's a band endorsed by the band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring you the
Exactly.
music.
Yeah, they gave them the blessing to go ahead
To go
and
and do
continue
it.
on as the Beach Boys.
Yeah, I would sit at the back.
Yeah.
I wouldn't care where
Have
I
a
sat
picnic,
and just
whatever,
put
just hang
feet
out.
up and just
Enjoy.
Yeah.
It has to be a specific venue, because like
Yes.
It has to be outside.
This has to be like an amphitheater on the beach somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I agree,
totally.
100%. Yeah.
But see, hypocritical.
an
Are we
Empire
hypocritical?
Fields.
I don't know. Empire Field would be perfect. Yes.
I think it's
it's who it is. Or-
well that, but there's songs that we grew up. It's what our parents listened
it
to.
takes you back to your childhood
Yes,
and,
it
does.
and happy.
It's not the same as going to a Metallica or whatever. You're
Yeah,
like,
you're just gonna sit there. You're just
Yep.
yeah, because I would definitely, I would go.
yeah.
Listening to the oldies.
Yeah.
Pretty
moldy
much.
old-
And yeah, listen to them and go, oh yeah, that song's in this movie and that song's in this movie.
That's right. Yeah.
And I play this scene in my head when
And
I
we
hear
could-
that song.
Because it would be, as we said, it would either be on a beach or in a park. You
Yeah.
would get up and you could just dance to this,
Exactly.
right? Like it's definitely one of those ones that everybody would be happy and spinning
It's
each
the
other
feel-good.
around.
It's-
And
Yeah.
They're definitely
Yeah.
feel good
Yeah.
things.
I was gonna say there is that amphitheater where they hold
what, Cloverdale?
Cloverdale, where they
Yeah.
hold Canada
Yeah.
Day celebrations.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would work too.
That would work too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking down at Sunset Beach, like
Oh.
they have stage set up there sometimes on
Yeah.
fireworks nights and stuff like
Well,
that.
then that would be the perfect
That would
place,
be
because
good.
that
Yeah.
one would be right on the beach. That
Yeah.
would be the ideal one.
Exactly.
We need this. We really do. Just think about it. That relaxing, feel good, loving kind of like just your friends hanging out, having a picnic. And because it's not like you're getting there to have a drink fest and like
No.
rock out. You're there to just
Chill.
Just have a good time.
decompress and
Just yeah.
just enjoy
Reminisce.
the tunes.
Exactly.
You're almost forgetting about what's happening in the real world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like you say, it takes back to an easier time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Simpler time.
So, Mike Love, if you're listening, apparently Sunset Beach in Vancouver.
We would
That's
love
where
it.
we want you to be.
Yeah.
just all these artists that we want to bring to town.
There is.
Hey, why not?
Well, and would
And
you,
if they want to,
It's a great town to come to, I'm just saying.
if they go with our idea and want to send us tickets, that would be even better.
because your budget is shot, is that what you're saying? Yes.
That's right.
Yeah, I think it's just you don't think about all the ones you would actually go to see until we start talking about it and go,
Yeah.
ooh, yeah, I would
I'd go see
that.
that.
I would
Go
see
see
that.
that. Yeah.
I would not see that.
Totally.
They're just one of those artists.
It's just on the heels of the episode that I did where I don't want to pay for a verified reseller, but I want to go to this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. But
There's ways around it. We'll
there is
figure
ways
it out.
around it.
so
Is that anybody else have anything on the Beach Boys or on Brian
No.
Wilson? No, we're good.
Just wanted to, pay homage
Yeah, to
to
something.
somebody who is, pretty big part of our lives.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was good.
And
Despite
our
not
parents'
being
lives and
in
the
the public
children's
eye.
lives.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he has a space in history and in our memories,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, with that, we'll catch you on the B side.
thank you for joining us on the Music Roundtable. Please like and comment where you listen to the podcast, and make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't already. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter and let us know what you'd like us to talk about. Until next time.